What is going on, Florida State family, Seminole Nation, and the 863 tribe? It's your boy POLK, a.k.a. a.k.a. the Got Damn Truth. And we are in the latter stages of 2024. This will be the last live stream of 2024. So let's try to do our best with hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel if you're new, and also sharing the video for your boy. We continue to try to grow this platform for this year and, of course, the upcoming years. 2024, a year to forget if you're a Florida State fan. But that's all good. We got more portal stuff to continue to talk about tonight. So we have, since the last time we've talked, we've had a new addition in the portal. We've also had new guys leave the program. We're going to talk about that. We got some new targets on the horizon for Florida State when it comes to portal talk that we also need to talk about. So a lot of good stuff with the transfer portal. And then I've got to talk about sometime during this live stream. I don't think we'll start off with it. We may start off with it. I don't know. By the way, I know y'all see the spear. I got a new addition to the cave, to the studio. I know y'all see the spear in the background. Got that for Christmas. Shout out to wifey. She got me one of them for Christmas. So we got a new addition to the studio with the spear in the background. So I know y'all see it. Don't be jealous. Just hit the like button and show some love. Anyway, I got to talk about it. And that is this conversation of holdouts. Opt-outs. Oh, what an amazing conversation that's going on right now in college football with the opt-outs. My thoughts on that. Because I remember last year, and I remember the conversation around opt-outs last year, and how it was an indictment on culture, and how it proved that you didn't have real culture in your program. See some Oklahoma fans talking about opt-outs as they decided to lose to Navy this past weekend, and also some more notable conversations that we may or may not get to. We'll see how we decide to attack that. But ultimately, again, the portal continues to portal. The portal continues to give and take, as it always does. That is what the portal does. The portal giveth, and the portal taketh away. There's some new targets, transfer portal. And again, we're going to talk about all of that. So before we get into all that, like, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the deal. Share the video. Let everybody know we are live on the most interactive show for the YouTube Florida State football fan. So go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Go ahead and share the video as we gear up for the last live stream of the 2024 year. Of the 2024 year. So I'm wait a little bit, and then we're gonna get into the topic. Just gonna wait a little bit longer, see if we can get more to fill up in here. Maybe not. It doesn't matter either way. But I am just waiting for a little while before we get cracking and getting right up into the conversation pieces. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Let's do it. Before we do it, you know what? I haven't done one of these. Roll call. Hit a real roll call, and then we are going to get started. FSU Tony in the building. KCD. Pistino. Fonte. Sonny. Mighty Noel. Jose. KCS, Michael, ML was good. Eric Sutton, all in the building. Jay Adams says, yo. Let's get it cracking, guys. All right. So, let's do it. Stop wasting everyone's time and then get right into the conversation. Florida State, since the last time we have talked, has added. I remember in the live stream previously, we talked about the offensive lineman that we got. We talked about, actually, I think they added two. They actually added two since the last time we talked. Now, since the last time we talked, I had automatically assumed, based on everything that that we were reading, that they were going to add Michael Pettis, and they indeed did add Pettis. That's the offensive tackle from Ole Miss. These 6'8", 360-pound offensive lineman, Michael Pettis. He was a Christmas Eve gift. He landed December 24th, and that essentially secures. At that time, we had a guard, one offensive tackle, and now another one. 3 spots on the offensive line, pretty much locked up with Michael Pettis. And again, that was a guy that we were already kind of predicting to be a part of the program. So I don't think it was a big surprise, but it finally became official. Well, we talked about it in that same live stream. Those other 2 spots on the O-line had no clue who was going to be your center. We predicted, or we kind of, forecasted maybe a combination of Richie Leonard and Jacob Rizzi. Those 2 may be competing for that spot. Rizzi has center experience by playing at Harvard. I don't know if Richie Leonard has any center experience. But those are kind of the 2 guys that we said, okay, we don't know who's going to be a center for us, but it could be one of those 2. Well, we have that question answered as of the day after Christmas, a late Christmas gift. Luke Petitbon, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Luke Petitbon, former Wake Forest. I think it was all ACC runner-up. Offensive lineman, offensive center. Your new center is Luke, again, Petitbon. Again, he played fairly well from what I understand when it comes to him. I don't know if I can find his grades. I had his grades. Let me see if I can find them. I believe he graded within the 88% as far as a pass blocker. So that's, if you don't know how the PFF grades work, 88% is, that's pretty much elite as far as pass blocking goes. I think it was a lot lower as a run blocker, but let me get the exact grades. I'm pretty sure I can find them real quick, because my main man always posts PFF grades on Twitter, and that is Clay Fink. Clay Fink is always posting the PFFs. So, just for comparison here, Maurice Smith had 710 snaps. Luke had 773 snaps. Maurice Smith, I'm trying to understand exactly what I'm looking at right here. I think Maurice Smith gave up 25 pressures, if that's what I'm reading correctly. Out of those 710, out of 773, Luke gave up 7. Take that back. Those are snaps. Those are not pressures. Let me clear that up and clarify. Bad snaps. So last year, out of 710 snaps, Maurice Smith had what would be graded as 25 bad snaps. So 3.5% of his snaps, or if you want to round up, 4% of Maurice Smith's snaps were bad out of 710. Luke, again, out of 773, had 7 bad snaps. That is less than 1%. If we round up, then that is 1%. That is 0.991 to be exactly. 0.91% of his snaps were bad snaps last year. Or we can round up and just say 1% of 773. So that's the snapping difference. So that's the kind of, so we griped about how a 6-year senior, whatever Maurice Smith was, we were pissed off about how he couldn't seem to snap the ball. So that's the upgrade, obviously, right? So our new center, less than 1% of his snaps, or 1% of his snaps, however you want to round up, whatever, it's okay, were bad. I got some other stuff. Let me find it. So, for his career, his metrics, pro metrics in his career, 385 pass blocking snaps, 6 pressures allowed in those snaps, a 99.9 pass blocking, 99.0 pass blocking efficiency. This is all from the Wake Forest former center, Luke Pettenbon. I mean, again, I don't know how much you guys want to take out of PFF. Those are incredible numbers, man. 99 pass blocking efficiency. Like I said, that's elite. Now, that's not his PFF grade. That's just his efficiency. But that's pretty elite, man. It doesn't really get much better than some of that stuff that we're talking about. Here's the criteria for, again, this is all thanks to Clay Fink. So I'm not taking credit for any of this information. I'm just reading it out here. The criteria for a true pass set with no play action, no screen, no rollout. So basically straight dropbacks with more than a 3-man rush. That's all what a true pass set is clarified as. So these are his last 2 years, his overall PFF grades. Again, he's 6'2", 295. So he's built like a center. He's been in college also 6 years, and he's got 1 year. So we're going to have a 7th-year center. Sign me up, damn it. Can't be any worse than the 6-year guy we just had. In 22 starts, that's over 1,600 snaps. In 2024, his overall PFF grade is a 70.8. In 2023, it was a 72.9. That is above average. That's overall grade. That is an above average grade. I would love to see what Maurice's were. That is an above average grade when we talk about how the PFF grading scale works. With like your 60 percentile. 60 percentile is pretty much average. 70s above. 80s like good. And the 90s become like elite. His pass blocking for 2023, 72. So he was above average. In 2024, skyrocketed to 88.3. So last year, pass blocking grade in PFF, 88.3. So he went from above average to damn near elite in pass blocking, 88.3. In 2023, his run blocking was a 73.4. Now, his run blocking fell from above average to average to a 67. So his run blocking fell. Why? Whatever the case is for that, I don't know. And again, in 2023, he gave up 9 pressures. In 2024, he gave up 7 pressures. I think you're getting an upgrade. I say all of that to say, I think you got a major upgrade there at the center position. What say those in the chat? Let me get to the chat before we continue to move on. But I was worried about who your center was going to be. I would argue they answered the question with a above average player at a minimum, as far as what we're going to be doing at the center position. So let's go to the chat real quick and see what y'all talking about. Let's see. Got some more people that has hit the chat. Shout them out real quick. Irv in the building. Shaquem, Wanda, Dupree, all in the building. Ice Cold Noah was good. Is it pronounced Pettibon? Okay, so it's Pettibon, not Pettit or whatever I was saying. Mike, what's going on? Dupree says he's an upgrade. Hopefully that center spot gets fixed with the new additions. Blake Roberts in the building. Kane Zay, Happy New Year to you. Can't get much worse than last year across the board. Buddy's a technician. I'm excited to have a real O-line coach. Those guys weren't even average last season. I'm assuming you're talking about our guys. Assuming you're talking about our guys there. So yeah, that's the newest addition again to what you just got since the last time we talked. Obviously, the 6'8" tackle. I mean, that's what you need. And then we actually have a legit center who played in the ACC against pretty much the same competition and graded out well. So my guess is that last guard spot will go to Richie Leonard, as he was before injury, probably your best offensive lineman. My guess is that guard spot will be a competition between him and maybe Jalen Early and Rizzy. I think Rizzy may be your backup center. There's still some kinks to work out on the O-line. You pretty much got your starting. I mean, we know for a fact 4 of the starters on the O-line. I don't think that's even a question at this point, right? We know you brought in all 4 of those guys that you brought in for a reason. All 4 of those guys, established O-linemen. Not going to sit here and tell you the greatest O-lineman in the country, but all the 4 of those guys played well for their respective teams. So that's going to be your 4 starters. I would assume Richie Leonard's the 5th. Now, I don't expect us to rotate as much as Alex Atkins likes to rotate. Y'all know me from the beginning. As much as I was on Alex Atkins' train, as much of you were, one of the big criticisms I had before it all went to hell was that he rotated too much. I said, we rotate offensive linemen too much. That's not me going back and changing my stance. That was my stance all along with him. He rotated too much on the O-line, that I felt like your starting guys could never get any cohesion within that starting group. One series you're playing Darius Washington at tackle. The next series we see Robert Scott at tackle. Why? No clue, but that's what they did. I don't expect us to rotate as much. However, you're still going to need depth. Injuries still happen. O-line has a very high attrition rate, so you're gonna have to have guys that can come in. I think we got a starter in 5. The question is going to be, I think Rizzy's going to be in the mix in the rotation. I think as long as Early stays, which he has shown no indication of leaving as of yet, I gotta believe he was the one of the guys last year who actually, when he played, when he wasn't being rotated out, actually was grading pretty high as well on the offensive line. So I got to think that Jalen Early will be amongst the rotation there. And then you got to see, how does Lucas Simmons come along? How does Otto come along? some of these other guys can maybe one of the Manasseh or Jonathan Daniels, can some of these other guys who were freshmen last year, what steps do they make? So you still got to work out, I think, the rotation pieces, or at least the depth pieces, I'll say, along the O-line. But I think your starting five has came together. I think your starting five has came together. And as of right now, we know, at least from a names and body standpoint, we know what your O-line is going to look like. So there's that. Briley, what's going on with you? He says, "POLK, I hate FSU football. I'm starting to think we might not totally suck in 2025, and I'm not ready for hope because it only leads to more disappointment." I'm not going to get you to start telling lies yet, Briley, but like I've said before, so far this offseason, I'm a fan of what they've done. They still got more work to do, and we're going to get to that as we've had, and what I thought may be an important piece to next year's defense. Well, he's hit the portal, but we're going to cover that. But they also have a lot of targets on the defensive side of the ball too that I'm not so sure. Like, we're not done in the portal, but I'm also not so sure that you're gonna, we're not still gonna maybe lose some other guys out of the transfer portal. So again, don't let me get you this telling lies, but just hold off. Just hold off, Brian. Hold off on your optimism. Don't be a full pessimist. Here's one thing I will guarantee. I will guarantee this. I'll do it right here. December, what's the date? December 29th, 2024. I'll do it right here. We ain't going 2-10 again. That much I know. That much I will guarantee you that. If I don't guarantee anything else going into next year, Florida State does not go 2-10. That's as far as I'll guarantee. Hit the like button. So again, that is who you've gotten in the portal as of right now. Now, with the good news comes maybe not so good news. D.D. Holmes has decided to hit the transfer portal. What does that mean? Well, D.D. Holmes was a player that I thought fit the mold as far as what the new 3-3, what the defensive line would look like. He had the body type, in my opinion. He fit what they were what they're bringing in with the James Williams type, and what that D line kind of is going to consist of. I thought D.D. Holmes had an opportunity to, maybe get some snaps, get his feet wet, all those good things. Well, regardless of what I thought, he apparently didn't feel that way, or the staff didn't feel that way. I don't know if that's D.D. Holmes wanting to leave, or if the staff kind of is pushing him out. Don't get me to lie to you. Don't get me to lie to you. Just know that he's hit the transfer portal. Unfortunate, because I believe while he wasn't the guy that contributed for you last year as a true freshman, I don't believe it was never designed for him to contribute to you, in my opinion. It was never intended. And I think I can back that up with the amount of transfer portal ends they took last year. When you look at just the fact that you already had Pat on roster, you took Marvin Jones, you took Durajai, you took Sione, you still had Byron Turner. Like, all of those guys were put in place so you didn't have to rush a D.D. Holmes out there. And so going into this year, again, the thoughts in my opinion was, well, he's going to have a legit chance. He's got the build and what they're looking for, right? To play in this new defense that is being implemented. But apparently, D.D. Holmes is going to take his talents elsewhere. We'll see how that works out for him. But all's not lost, I would say, because with D.D. Holmes, again, that's a player I wanted to keep, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that's just a ho-hum. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say he wasn't a contributor, right? So he doesn't have any any production. He is a guy that the team's going to get 4 years out of as a freshman. He redshirted, so you're going to get 4 years out of him. But I just believe he fit what you were trying to do, right? With that said, Jason Jenkins from Tennessee, transfer, he too fits the mold, and he is setting up a visit to Tallahassee on January the 2nd. So as FSU has decided, or as he's left, as D.D. Holmes has left, FSU has picked up at least a visit from a guy who also fits the mold. Jason Jenkins, Tennessee, listed at 6'6", 250. I saw some reports that he's 6'6", 280. I'm looking at On3 right here, and he's listed at 6'6", 250. But just for clarification, and again, not the most productive player, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you but you're getting a guy who's essentially, in my opinion, probably going to do what you were going to ask D.D. Holmes to do. And he's got a little bit more production. Yeah, over here, he's listed at 6'6", 280. And he posted 9 tackles and 2 sacks for the Vols this season. So again, this is a guy who, if I'm me personally, yeah, he should be a take for sure. Because again, he's gonna fill a role that I think you were gonna ask D.D. Holmes to fill. That's one of the targets going forward. Briley said 3-9. No. Well, again, I don't know. Maybe we go 3-9. I'm just guaranteeing you we don't go 2-10. That's all I'm gonna tell you. D.D. got recruited. Did he? I mean, I guess FSU did close pretty well on the D line. A guy like Tylen Lee, is that a guy that you think may have took a D.D. Holmes? I don't think, I'm one of those people where, in my opinion, you don't have enough D linemen. I'm pretty consistent with that. So I don't know if D.D. got recruited over or not, but I'm always of the mindset, I don't want to lose. I don't like to lose guys at premium positions, and defensive line is a premium position, right? So I don't like to lose those type of players. So for me, I would still love to keep him. But again, I'm not telling you he's a significant loss or anything like that. But he's a young player. I believe you have to keep young players, or you should want to keep your young players around, because you want to be able to, for instance, James Williams is only here for a year. It would be nice to have D.D. Holmes take over for James Williams next year. And that's just an example. Maybe there is another player that will do that. That's why I think that's what's gotten us in trouble offensive line wise, and why it was so terrible this past year. Because, yeah, you did bring in some good transfer players like Dylan Gibbons and guys, but you never were able to recruit anybody. Once Dylan Gibbons, who gave you 2 years, left Florida State, there should have been a high school recruit taking his spot. We shouldn't have had to go get a Terrence Ferguson and so on and so forth. So that's why, in my opinion, D.D. Holmes, again, not a significant loss, but not a guy that I think you wanted to lose, in my opinion. So that's where I stand on that. But again, Jason Jenkins, 6'6", 280, Definitely going to fit what you're doing here on that defensive line. Length, all of that good stuff. Recorded 2 sacks. So he's not a guy that you're bringing in to be a double. I don't think there's a guy on this defensive line. I don't think this defense is even designed to have a double-digit sack guy. It's more so sack by committee, in my opinion. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But Jason Jenkins is a name to watch. Dupree says the staff is bringing in more guys, for sure. I'm really liking the guys that we're bringing in, but hopefully we can have more than 1 year rental guys. That's the key, right? Not only the 1 year rental guys, but again, if you're going to take the 1 year guys, that's fine. But if you're not recruiting high school ranks correctly, then we're just kind of right back to square one, in my opinion. Linebacker, I'm going to talk about that linebacker in a minute. At some point, we need to recruit/develop guys. Portal can definitely help, but seems to be a slippery slope depending on portal. But it definitely isn't. Recruiting isn't an exact science, and neither is the transfer portal. Again, that's why I say when it comes to transfer portal, I am not one of those people that talk about production. You know what I care about? I care about fit. Do they fit what you're trying to do? If they fit, sign me up. If they fit, sign me up. That's just how I view it when it comes to the transfer portal. Another potential, give me 1 second as I try to bring it up, but another potential guy that another potential replacement maybe for a D.D. Holmes. If I can find, there we go. Another potential replacement for a D.D. Holmes. As I look for him at a University of Texas, San Antonio, this was a double. He had, I think, 10 sacks this past season. There he is. Jamori Robinson, 6'6", 250 pounds. Again, now I don't know if FSU's targeting him, so I'm not going to sit here and lie to you about whether FSU's even targeting him. I'm just bringing him up because it's another guy, long, gonna fit. If you care about that production that we talk so much about, if that's a big deal to you, well, then this guy should be on your radar. He should be on Florida State's radar. Again, he's listed as an outside linebacker, but obviously at 6'6", 250, right? He's not going to be an outside linebacker, or he'll be a rush end for sure. But he played in all 13 games. He only started. So here's the crazy thing. Oh, well, he did. This is 2023. I'm sorry. It doesn't look like he played this past year. I don't know if that is due to injury. He played. No, he played. Okay, here we go. So in 2024, you're talking about 43 total tackles, 27 solos, 16 assists, 17 tackles for loss, 10.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 pass breakups. That is what he was able to do for University of Texas, San Antonio. Now, schedule's not great. Kennesaw State, Texas State. Against Texas, he only had 1 tackle. That was the best. Obviously, they lost 50-67. That was the best team they played. He only had 1 tackle. Houston Christian, East Carolina, Rice, Florida Atlantic, Tulsa. It's really against Temple. Temple is where he had a 4-sack game. Temple is where he got most of those sacks. At the end of the day, still, that's a guy I think that you want to pay attention to. You at least want to get him in here. He's going to fit, I think, what you want to do on defense. Again, I don't know if FSU's even targeting him. I don't know if that's a conversation that's even happening. Just saying that's a guy you probably want to look at. Jacobs Seminole fan 2 with the $5. Appreciate you. He says, Pokemon diehard FSU fan from Bama. How many games do you think Norvell has to lose to get fired? Well, anything less than 8 wins, I think, in my opinion, should get him canned. And eight, honestly, is me being kind, because I legitimately want to say if he doesn't win 9 or 10, get him out of here. But I'm also a realistic thinker, and I understand that if he wins 8 games, they're not going to fire him. But if he goes 7-5 or below, I believe that should be a real conversation. Because at that point, I believe you could argue that he's already dead in the water, though the offseason that they've had thus far may indicate that he's not quite as dead as we may think he is. I mean, you don't get Deuce Robinsons and you hire Gus Malzahns and the Tony Whites. Like, you've been able to make the moves that I think some of us didn't think he could make so far this offseason. I mean, even with the O-line revamp. Like, so he's not as dead in the water as we think, but you win 7 or less games, then you will be. Then you might as well bite the bullet and pay the buyout, as far as I'm concerned. 8's not going to get him fired, and then if he wins 9 or 10, then maybe we're right back on the track of where we need to be. I appreciate that. I appreciate that dono, though, Jacob. Appreciate the love and support. Yeah, more money, yeah. I agree, Panama. If we get Jenkins, I believe we're good with losing D.D. Holmes. I agree with that to an extent. I think now Jenkins and even this Jamori Robinson I'm talking about, these are 1-year rentals, though. That's the issue. We're good for next year, but then what do we do after that? So while I agree with you, the nature of college football now is we got to think about the years to come. And, it's difficult, but we also have a whole recruiting class, and we'll see how they are able. We'll see what they're able to do as far as recruiting classes go. Because I'm glad you kind of actually brought that up, because FSU might not be done signing defensive linemen in this recruiting class, as FSU gets one of the last major kind of guys available in the actual high school 4-star edge, Zahir Mathis. He is down to 3 schools, and that's FSU, Michigan, and UCLA. Now, Michigan's going to be a tough get. I don't know if y'all are paying attention to what Michigan got going on, but Michigan going to be a tough get from the simple fact they are, they're doing their thing. Michigan, even after having that 6-6 season, Michigan's recruiting extremely well. I'm trying to look up Mathis right now and see where he ranks, because I don't see him. Maybe where is he listed? Where does he listed as? Maybe he's not listed as a D line. Maybe he's listed as an edge guy. There he is, Zahir Mathis. He's listed as an edge, but he's 6'6 and a half, 6'5, 6'5 and a half, 6'6, 230. You're talking about the number 119th player in the country. So you're talking about damn near a top 100 prospect. This would be a great get. Now, On3's got him 98% to Ohio State. Ohio State's not listed in his top 3. So if it's come down to Florida State, Michigan, and UCLA, I'm very interested to see can pot roast, can Knighton close on this one. You get Zahir Mathis, that also helps alleviate a D.D. Holmes. That's also the guys that we need to close out with here. And that's one of the major big targets left on the board as far as the high school ranks go. It's pretty no girl. How you doing? How you been? my question would be, why did Holmes wait this late to enter the portal? The kid from Western Kentucky could be his replacement. Well, they're built differently. I think they would have different roles in this defense personally, Jay Holmes. So I don't know if he necessarily took his spot. Remember, Western Kentucky's kid, he's like a 5 technique. He's a 285 pound guy, where Dede Holmes is a 260. I mean, I don't know how much weight he's gained in the offseason. Speaking of Holmes, I'm not saying he couldn't fill that role. As he's listed right now, I'm not so sure he would be in that role. I think he would be more along the side of the ball of where James Williams will be playing that. But you could be right, and maybe that kid took his spot. Not 100% sure. And I believe the kid from Western Kentucky also has two years of eligibility. So you may be right. Kusami, what's up? Credible Detailing, as always, sponsored by Credible Detailing. If you're in Orlando, check out my man Chris. Get your car cleaned up. Get your rim shined up. Go and get your rim job. Get your rim job. If you know what that movie's from, then you're a man of culture or a woman of culture. If you don't know where that movie's from, go sit in the corner somewhere. Or you don't know where that line is from and what movie, go sit in the corner. Go and get your rim job from Credible Detailing. $9.99. Appreciate you, Chris. As always, thanks for the love. I get it. I get it. Crazy. 7-5. He's not fired. Well, he should be. You call me crazy if you want. 7-5. He should be. It's just me though. 7-5 in year 6. Yeah, that should be fireable. Because that's what that would be. Hell, 2-10 in year 5 is fireable, but obviously we didn't do it. What up, Polk? Might need to win 9. I don't disagree with you at all. So just going bowling isn't good enough. Hell no, it's not. Why would it be? You think going bowling is just good enough at Florida State? I mean, if it is, let me know. And we can stop pretending like FSU has this high standard. And we can say we are the Wake Forests and the NC States of the world. If going bowling is just good enough. I just want to be clear where we stand as Florida State fans and what we should be expecting in a program that I know what I grew up watching. I don't know what some of y'all grew up watching. I know some of y'all are only like 21 or 25 and below, and I get that. It's not a knock. I just understand it. So y'all didn't grow up watching what I grew up watching. But if you grew up watching what I grew up watching, no, going bowling isn't good enough. What do you rank Witcher 3 on a scale from 1 to 10? Well, I just started playing that game again. If you have me on PS5, you know that. It depends on what you like. Me personally, it's a 10. If you like a narrative-driven type of game, that's the game for you. Some consider those type of games boring. Me personally, I don't. If you like a good story, good characters, all that stuff, hey, it's the game for you. What's up, Terrell? Wanda says, haven't been on here in a while. My last question was for the chat. While you were getting ready, how good are the players we're getting? I think we're getting solid guys. I'm not going to tell you that we're getting maybe a Deuce Robinson. Like we got guys with high potential, like a Deuce Robinson. He's going to be wide receiver 1. So he's going to have all the opportunity to be Johnny Wilson or better. But I also don't want to pretend like some of these guys are just FSU, not just FSU, but the thought that you're going to hit on every portal guy is a pipe dream. We know that every portal guy is not going to be a hit. I don't know who's going to hit and who's not, but overall, what I like is that you're bringing in guys to fit what you're doing. Do they play well or not? That all remains to be seen. I don't think there's a for sure thing that we've gotten out of the portal. Maybe other than that, the center might be the most legit thing you've gotten out of the portal. If you want me to be completely honest, he might be just from a production standpoint and what he's done previously, the center that you just recently got might be the best portal addition that you've got, or James Williams. Those might be the 2 best portal additions you got. Deuce Robinson is the highest rated portal player you got, but again, he's had some production at USC But that's like 300 or 400 yards a season or whatever that was. There's still a lot to see with that one, right? I think I'm not predicting as of yet, but 10 games would be a blessing. 10 games, you're fighting for a playoff spot with 10 games. I won't say you get into playoff, but you're fighting for it. So that's a different question we're having than what I'm saying. I'm not telling you that he's going to be fired if he wins 7 games. I'm telling you that he should be. Now, whether or not they like him and they don't want to fire him, I got no control over that. And frankly, I don't care. Ultimately, I'm just the fan that roots for the team. These other people, they make the decisions for the program long term. And again, all I'm saying is if 7-5 is good enough, that's okay. 7-5 is good enough. Just don't come in my chat acting like Florida State is a premier program. That's the only thing I ask from fans. If you're one of the fans that think 7-5 is good enough, you're allowed to feel that way. Don't tell me, then don't come in here and get mad because we not recruiting this caliber of player and we not bringing in this caliber of player, and because you settled for 7-5 because 7-5 was good enough for you. Don't tell me you can't win 10 games every year because I'm watching teams do it. Clemson finds a way to somehow win 10 games damn near every year. And they don't damn use the transfer portal like everybody else. And it's not like Dabo's bringing in top 10 recruiting classes every year. But somehow Clemson, in the same conference as Florida, Clemson has become, and their fans have become, what Florida State and Florida State football fans used to be. And that's okay. If you guys, Dupree, if y'all boys think 7-5 is cool, 7-5 is cool. I'm just telling you that it's not cool for me. As far as what they do, whether they fire him or not, hey, if Mike Alford thinks 7-5 is cool too, well, more power to him. But again, we go from being the elite to just saying, okay, we're Duke, we're NC State now, we're Wake Forest. If that's what y'all want to be, then that's what it is. I can't argue with that. Not trying to argue with it. I'm just telling you what it is. And we'll leave it at that, Almighty. I'm glad somebody. Again, I'm glad there's few Florida State. There's some real ones left. We got some real ones left, or at least some ones that actually remember what this program used to be. And I can appreciate, again, those that grew up watching the program that it used to be. Anyway, let's talk about some more guys that they're targeting in the transfer portal. One of the names that kind of popped up today. I'm not necessarily a fan of it. Well, you know what? We'll go with another name. So they're also looking at a running back from Utah State. Let me see if I can find. Here he is right here. So FSU looking to add Utah State running back Rasul Faison. Supposed to get a visit with him on the 1st of the 2nd. So I think now Faison ran for 1,109 yards. He averages about 5.6 yards a carry, or you want to round up. He averages about 6 yards a carry, 8 touchdowns. Coming off a 2023 season where he ran for 736 yards and 5 touchdowns. So he upped his production. That's a good sign, right? He upped his production. 5'11", 200. He was only a 2-star high school product. Now, he's also a guy that played at Utah State, so maybe you take some of that with a grain of salt, some of that production. On the initial thoughts, for me, I kind of don't think we need to go the running back route. But what I will say is, if you're trying to go get a running back out of the portal, you're probably thinking that you're losing one or both of Roydell, which I know FSU fans won't be mad about losing Roydell Williams, or Keziah Holmes, which I think some Florida State fans would like to keep Keziah. But I mean, at some point, Keziah does have to produce, while at the same time, Keziah has to be given an opportunity to produce. As we talk about some of those rotations that we've talked about in the past. I'm okay with this target if that's who you want to bring in. I just think I think you have to be careful because you're gonna lose a back if you bring this back in. And maybe maybe the reason they're even targeting this guy is because they already expect to lose. Again, I don't know if that's a Keziah or Roydell. Hell, I'm hoping it's not Sam Singleton, but they may already be expecting to lose a running back. So the thought process may be, well, let's target a guy and see if we can bring him in. So that's another guy that they're looking at to bring in the transfer portal as far as the offensive side of the ball goes. And this is a high productive guy that we talk about. I think, especially if you're going to lose a Roydell or a Keziah, and you look at that running back room, if you lose one or both of those two guys, then the running back room becomes extremely young. So you're going to bring in a veteran presence, of course, to show guys how to do things and assuming he's a leader, right? Assumingly a leader in that room to help the younger guys, which is a very young room when you talk about Cam Davis, Mekhi Danzy, even Sam Singleton, and then, of course, Chroma coming into the room. Keziah and Roydell are the two veterans, but if you're losing them, then you need to bring in a veteran, and this could be that. This could be why they're targeting him. Another guy that they're looking of bringing in, a linebacker from Georgia Southern. Now, this guy graded high. He's a Georgia Southern, Marquise Watson Trent. Now, that sounds to me like a Randy special. He's got a hyphenated last name, and we know how those go. Graduate transfer, so he's a one-year guy. He was a 3-year starter, 100 tackles in each season. So you're talking about highly productive. Now, granted, it's Georgia Southern in the Sun Belt Conference. But you're talking about a guy with a PFF grades of 80 this past season, including 88 in run defense. Here's my issue. You're talking about a 5'11", 225-pound player. Not saying that he, if he can run, then the height necessarily isn't an issue. You're talking about a guy who can run sideline to sideline. I know a lot of people I've talked to or said they've watched him say they like his motor. But you have questions just because of the level of competition. Does that speed translate to the ACC? So we'll see. I know that's a linebacker that they're currently targeting. Another linebacker they're targeting. This one emerged today. This one I'm not really a fan of. Like, if I have to pick, I guess I'm going with the Georgia Southern guy. Someone said he looked 5'9". Yeah, he's small. He's small. So, again, take that for what it's worth. Take that for what it's worth. So this guy popped up today. He's in North Carolina. Now, here's my issue with this. The good thing about this individual is he's young. I believe he only played in the bowl game against UConn, where he had his only production of the season. I think he had 8 or 9 tackles. So I think you're getting a freshman. I think you're going to get a redshirt freshman with 4 years. So that's going to be a plus. And he's got solid measurables as well. He's Caleb Lavelle. He's, I think, 6'2", like 230. So he has traditional linebacker size. Here's my problem, and this is to me why it's relevant, because we're talking about, again, a freshman. Well, he's no different than what Randy Shannon was bringing in. You're talking about a guy who is 750 in the country as an overall prospect. The 91st linebacker, according to 247, and the 99th player in the state of Georgia. If you go to the composite, he was the 63rd linebacker and the 70th player in the state of Georgia. That's on par with what Randy Shannon had. Like, if we're trying to get away, if we're trying to upgrade the talent in the linebacker room, we go out and now we're going to get a linebacker with the same talent as what Randy was already bringing in. That's kind of my problem. Does that mean he's not going to be a player? I mean, if we're just judging a bowl game against the UConn Huskies, not exactly a football powerhouse, where North Carolina still gave up 27 points, I think it was, and lost that game. The take's solid for the simple fact that you're going to get 4 years out of him. And I will say this, Tony White, he's the new D coordinator. He's also a guy who coaches linebackers. We haven't seen what his evaluations look like yet. If he wants to take this young man on, then I won't say I'll trust his evaluations, but I'll give his evaluations a chance to see what Caleb Lavelle can do. A lot of people think FSU is going to nab this one. Apparently, they were in his recruitment last year, which makes sense because you see the rankings that I just pointed out. So that's what Randy recruited all of last year, or since he's been at Florida State, was guys of this caliber. So I'll take it for what it's worth. The two linebackers right now that seem to be on the board for Florida State is the extremely short individual out of Georgia State, but highly productive player while being at Georgia State. And this young man who hasn't been productive outside of the bowl game, but he's a guy that's going to give you 4 years, traditional size, might have some natural instincts for the position. I don't know if he's a superior athlete, but if he has some natural instincts for the positions, we'll take it. And a guy that you can potentially develop into something for sure. That's really what you're looking at. At the end of the day, I believe FSU definitely has to take linebackers. You look at what they could currently have in Blake, Juice, Omar, and Stephon. That's all they got. You do need other bodies at backer. I mean, you do have to hear Hickman Collins and Jaden Parrish, but again, we've talked about those. So you got to take some bodies. That seems to be what they're targeting. I'll let Tony White, the linebacker guru, we'll see what he does. We'll see what he brings in, and we'll see what he's looking like. But not anything that I'm personally like super excited for personally. So that's just me. That's what it's looking like right now for some of the targets left that FSU, again, is trying to bring in on some visits and all that good stuff. Excuse me. Also have Coastal Carolina edge DeMonte Diggs. He will visit Tallahassee from the 2nd through the 3rd. He's also going to visit Kansas. Diggs, 6'5", 260. Had 5 sacks and 18 pressures. So they are, again, they've got guys, especially on the defensive line. If you're not paying attention, look at the type of guys they're bringing in terms of the measurables. Everybody's 6'5" and above, 260 and above. So they have a specific type that they're looking for on that D line, and that's the guys they're targeting. DeMonte Diggs. We talked about the other one from Tennessee. I forgot his name that quick. The University of Texas, San Antonio guy who again, not officially being considered by Florida State, though I think Florida State should be considering him. That's a name to look at. Then the 2 linebackers, the running back. I think there's a wide receiver from West Virginia that they're also possibly looking at. So they got some guys, man, that they're going to continue to try to look at and bring in here in this transfer portal. So do me a favor, hit the like button. Let me get back to the comment section. ACC lost damn near every bowl game, so I'm not sold on that. He can play at this level. Fair enough. ACC has not looked great in the bowl season, so you might have a point. We'll see. I guess we're just going to argue about what the real Florida State fans expect. That's fine. ACC needs a dominant FSU, and it shows. The goofy-ass conference. Well, it is what it is. Well, I mean, it's the ACC, Clifford. The schedule is not necessarily balls to the wall every year, you know? So, you know, again, just expectations from some, and others don't have the same expectations. And again, that's fine. I also think Tony White's 3-5 will include a nickel every now and then, so we need a DB or a safety that can do that. Yeah, so I think you're 3-3. You're going to have one of those linebackers be like a jack, like a end / linebacker hybrid rush end type guy. Obviously, with the 5 DBs, you'll have a nickel guy, but that they might also want to drop down as like a linebacker. Maybe that's Shaheem Brown kind of seems like a guy that might fill that role. Obviously, at this point, it looks like Shaheem's coming back. Well, then you got to ask, well, where does he fit? Maybe that's in that realm. So maybe you have a guy like a Shaheem Brown. Maybe a Ashton Barker is a guy who might fit that hybrid linebacker role. So they got some guys potentially. It doesn't seem to look like they're targeting those type of players in the portal. So maybe either that's not a staple of that defense, or maybe they feel like they already got those guys on roster. So we'll see, Joe, how that kind of works out. Anthony says you can't really gauge the conference strength by bowl games. Too many opt-outs. That's fair, too. I mean, SMU tried to play a playoff game while facing opt-outs and things of that nature. So that's true, too. I think other than Syracuse, and you can kind of grade Syracuse on a curve because Washington State had a ton of opt-outs. I don't know if any ACC team has looked particularly well. I thought Clemson played well for what it's worth. I'm trying to think. Pitt, they went like 6 overtimes with Toledo. You know, Miami's Miami. They don't know anything about winning bowl games. So it just is what it is. What's up? How do I feel about all line? I feel fairly well. I think they got 4 of the spots locked up. I think Richie Leonard's going to be the 5th. And, yeah, I feel pretty good about the O-line, honestly. What's up, Fatal Jedi? How are we feeling about bowl games? What are your thoughts on Ward staying out for the second half? Let me get back to that one, Terrell. I'm going to answer that I'm gonna read these next two comments and I'll come back to that. But he says, if we're being honest, Kayden Loach and Derek Brooks were undersized at linebacker, but both were fast. So maybe the UNC kid is at least fast. Well, he's not undersized. He's linebacker sized. I'm actually questioning his speed. The undersized kid is the one at a Georgia Southern. He's definitely undersized. I mean, from a height standpoint, they list him at like 225, which would mean he's a small, stocky guy. The North Carolina kid is a big linebacker, actually. I question his speed, and I don't know if I can gauge that while they played UConn. So that's kind of me. Anybody here watching your shows is a real FSU fan. Yeah, maybe I should rephrase the saying. I don't want to question anyone's fanhood because I feel like when I say that, a lot of people got defensive. Okay, I don't want to question whether you're a real fan or not. I'm questioning. I don't know. I'm just questioning what. I would ask this question to anybody that got offended by me saying whether or not you're a real fan or not. What made you become a Florida State football fan? Because I can promise you this. It wasn't because they were going 7-5 and making the Music City Liberty Bowl. I can promise you that. So I guess my question would be, what made you a fan of this program? Because I'm willing to bet what made you a fan of the program were guys like that on the wall. You know, guys that that built the standard of excellence. You know, guys that you grew up watching and they were in high-profile games, playing high-profile teams. So I don't want to question your fanhood or anybody's fandom. I don't want to offend the real Florida State fan out there. Let me just rephrase it by saying there's a new type of FSU fan. It's okay to be realistic. I am one of the more realistic guys, I feel like, that talks about this team. But then there's realism, and then there's, again, a standard of expectation. For some reason, in this fan base, we seem to be content with mediocrity nowadays. I just feel like any fan that's saying 7-5 is okay, you're content. And if you want to be content, then you can be content. I don't want to question your fandom. I don't want to get everybody's panties in a bunch because I question whether you're not a real Florida State fan. I'm only saying what my expectation is, especially in year 6. I'm okay with talking about a 7-win team in year 2, maybe year 3, depending on the circumstances, but not in damn it year 6. If you can go from 13-1 to 2-10, damn it, you should be able to go. I don't understand. Okay, let's do it. There's nobody that looked at 13-1 and said they were going to go 2-10 the following year. So if that's possible, and Indiana, I'll use the Indiana Hoosiers as an example, can go from a 2-win team or whatever, 2-3-win team, whatever they win, and go to the playoff. Miss me with the expectation that I have that the Florida State Seminoles should be able to go from a 2-10 to 8, 9, 10 wins. Don't sit here and tell me, oh, that's not feasible. 6 or 7 wins is feasible. No, miss me. This is a new age. Like, you keep wanting to talk about new age of college football. Exactly. Turnarounds happen like that. Get it right. You're a $10 million head coach in year 6. Get it right. Miss me with the whole, oh, he's going to need another 2 years to build it up. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. And if he goes 7-5, I'm not saying he's going to get fired. I'm saying he should get fired. That's what it is. That's what it is. Miami lost to Toast. Let me get to before I get. I want to get to what Terrell asked about though. When he talked about Cam Ward. So there's two parts of this. I'm talking about the first part, and the first part is I don't care. The first part is simple. I don't think Cam Ward should have played in the game at all. I don't think Cam Ward should have played. I was on the record of saying that. Too much money. The guy's probably the first quarterback off the board, which means he's top 10 pick at a minimum, probably top 5. Too much money for him to risk playing Iowa State, in the Pop-Tart Bowl. Has no reason to play that game. The fact that he played a half, frankly, is more than he should have played. Now, I have a problem with this record that I don't think is legitimate. I don't think someone correct me if I'm wrong, but you're talking about a guy who got half of his touchdowns and at Incarnate Ward. I thought this was a Division I football record, not that. Now, maybe I'm incorrect on that, but I thought it was the D1 record. And I know Incarnate Ward ain't a D1 program. So how does he have the record for Division I touchdowns when he only did 2 years in Division I, one at Washington State and one at Miami? So I think the record's illegitimate, but if they're going to give it to him, I obviously can't control that. So that's a whole different conversation. But Cam Ward shouldn't have played. He played, and he played well, but he didn't need to. He's not the first player to. I think Malik Neighbors did it last year. Like I don't care about guys opting out. I've said that way before. Now, if you have the opinion that if you start the game, you should finish the game, I'm okay with that. I'm not mad at that. Like if you're going to start the game, well, damn, go ahead and finish the game. At least try to get your team a win. I can understand, but at the end of the day, I don't care about Cam Ward playing or not playing. He shouldn't have played. Same energy I had for Florida State players last year. There's no way Fisk, Keon, or Verse should have played. Look at what those boys are doing in the NFL. There's no reason they should have played in a nothing game against the Georgia Bulldogs. No reason they should have played. So there's no way I'm going to switch it up on Cam Ward. Cam Ward shouldn't have played. The fact that he did play, well, he gave Miami fans something to cheer about for a half. I would argue if Mario Cristobal and the Hurricanes really wanted to see what Emory could do, you tell Cam Ward you're not playing, and we're going to set up an entire game plan for Emory. If you really wanted to gauge, because what's really unfair is that it's unfair to Emory to come in the second half and expect to beat Iowa State when you know your defense can't stop a nosebleed. Your defense can't stop a runny nose. I can go get some boys around the neighborhood right now. We'll go put up 30 on Miami's defense. Like, that's how bad that defense is. And that's how bad that defense I was telling y'all from week 2. So that's unfair to Emory to ask him to come and duel it out against Iowa State with a half, with what he should have did was game plan. And if you really want to see what Emory was about, do the whole game plan around him and see what you really had. That's my opinion on that. But as far as Cam Ward goes, I have no problem with what he did. The NFL will have no problem with what he did. Just go look at the track record. They're going to draft him based on how good they think he is, period. The second part of this conversation, however, is all the bullshit that was talked last year. Florida State decided we're not playing in these games, and everybody had an opinion. Oh, the culture down there in Tallahassee. And I get how this year played out. This year fed into the narrative, though I don't think the two correlate at all. That's just me personally. It's just funny to me that now there's a bunch of people on the side of Cam Ward that were talking shit about FSU and their players doing the exact same thing. I'm listening to an Oklahoma beat writer or whatever he is talk about the 20 opt-outs Oklahoma had in their loss to Navy. I don't give a damn about your 20 opt-outs, my friend, because y'all said Florida State was a disgrace to college football because of all their players that decided the NFL is more important than playing Georgia when we should be in the playoff. Miami shouldn't have been in the playoff. So their players don't have that argument of we got snubbed. No, you earned what you got. Florida State definitely got snubbed, and their players did, in my opinion, the right thing in not playing in that game. It's just funny how the narrative has shifted in 360 days. Those are my two takes, Terrell. And then, yeah, I saw them also trying to fight each other on the sideline. So I don't even know what that was about, but the culture down there seems to be amazing. Well, there's more teams, right? You added Cal, you added SMU, and so what's going to happen is you just some ACC teams aren't going to play year in and year out like they used to. Well, then, Brandon, we're if that's the case, then we're arguing about nothing because I never said he would get fired. I said he should get fired. I'm fully aware that Florida State's not firing Mark Norvell. I've said this since this year when I said he should be fired this year, but they're not going to do it. So if that's the case, we're just going in a circle around a bunch of nothing because they're not going to fire him. Part of the buyout, and I think the people that are saying that they like Mike Norvell, I agree with that aspect. I don't think Mike Alford is going to fire him, especially not off of 7 wins. Now, again, I think he should get fired. But no, I don't think he will because for a lot of the reasons that everybody's already said. So if that's the case, again, we're just talking about a bunch of nothing. So again, we're just arguing, we're just going in circles about the same thing. Y'all just got offended because I question your fanhood, and I apologize for that. Some fans have never experienced the glory days, Polk, when we were winning 10 games, obviously. But again, I see this conversation has agitated a lot of individuals. See how the standards dipped? See, Almighty Finn's on fire tonight. Bobby was, damn near in a natty national championship every year. We're just asking for 10 wins. Hell, give me 9. Nobody wants to play in the Bull Jive Bowl. Exactly. I agree, but okay. So again, I'm glad. As long as we're on the same page, Brandon. That's all I'm saying. It should, but it won't, and I agree with that. Again, I did not say he will get fired. I said he should, but I am fully aware that he will not get fired because, again, of all the things that we've talked about. I'm rolling with the new staff. I'm not rolling with. Again, Mike Norvell is on my shit list as far as but I roll with the staff. I'm interested to see what Gus can do and Tony White. But Mike Norvell, if he got fired tomorrow, I wouldn't bat an eye. Damn it, I could care less. Again, I'm not a fan of coaches. I'm a fan of a program. So whether Mike's here tomorrow, 2 years from now, or he gets fired tomorrow or 2 years from now, I'm still going to be garnered in gold all day, every day. But I don't care who the head coach is. Looking for Miami fans to give us you're exactly right. And I'm glad Deion in Colorado got stomped out for bringing us up, not playing in that bowl game. No, I forgot about that. And again, Johnny, Colorado just got beat by a superior team, and that happens. But you're right. You have to be careful what you say because Deion, he threw a shot. And it's fine. That I'm proud of what Deion was able to accomplish at Colorado. Like, At the end of the day, Travis Hunter made the right decision. Like, he went to play for his mentor, his hero. You know, he went to play for that man. That man got him a Heisman Trophy. That man is going to have him a top 5 pick in the draft. That man, Travis Hunter, accomplished everything he said he was going to accomplish. He did. He did that. He absolutely did that. And Deion did everything Deion said Travis Hunter was going to do. He did that, which is crazy. With that said, Deion absolutely threw a shot where he said, you know, opting out. You want to keep the momentum. I would argue the way Shedeur played, maybe he hurt his draft stock a little bit. They didn't play well as a team. And you just have to be careful when you talk. And that's been my whole thing about the Colorado Buffaloes from the jump. I would criticize the way Deion built the roster. It worked this year. And I've also criticized that they talk too much. And it's okay to talk. One of my favorite players is Terrell Owens. And he talked. But one thing about T.O. always delivered. If you're going to talk, you got to deliver. My favorite athlete, favorite person of all time is Muhammad Ali. Talked a lot of shit, didn't he? He's called the greatest of all time for a reason. If you're going to talk, you got to back it up. So what happens when you talk and you go out and play like you get monkey stomped? And as a matter of fact, in every bowl game Deion's played in, whether that was at Jackson State or now, his teams never for some reason show up in the bowl game. You got to be careful because when you talk, that's when people come at you. But I'm proud of what Deion was able to accomplish at Colorado. Nothing short of amazing, quite honestly. Damn that apologize, POLK. Continue to call it out. No, I just want to make sure that I'm not, again, I'm not trying to rub anybody the wrong way, but I've obviously rubbed some folks the wrong way when I was talking. It felt to me like we were saying 7 wins was acceptable, and I just can't co-sign that narrative. That's what it sounded like to me. The same way it sounded like I was questioning people's fandom is the same way, you know. So we just have a bit of a misinterpretation on messages. That's okay. That's what the channel's for. That's exactly what this channel's for. There's no love lost on my end. Still love you guys. My point was he didn't have to bring us up, and I agree with you on what you're saying about Travis Hunter. Right decision. No, I'm your point is valid, 100% valid. You're absolutely right. I just wanted to put the whole thing into everything that happened with Colorado. I still want to bring it in perspective because it's easy to bash Colorado because of what happened last night, last night. But you also got to say, like, the man did set out and accomplish almost everything he said he was going to accomplish. So it's a total picture of what happened at Colorado. Well, you know, a lot of Colorado fans are Miami fans. I don't know if you guys have recognized that. A lot of your Colorado fans that love Deion Sanders they're also Miami Hurricane fans. So it's very easy for them to bash Florida State and make fun of Florida State while rooting for arguably one of Florida State's greatest, well, not arguably, one of Florida State's greatest players of all time, right? I'm not even going to get into the conversation on Travis and yeah, I'm not going to get on that. I wish him the best with that, though. I want to pray for Travis. I mean, again, that's a conversation that I think a lot of people are exploiting that topic. I have an opinion on it, but it's not one that I want to share on that because I feel like I like to keep my stuff on the field for the most part. And I feel like I just hope Hunter gets some proper guidance when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, that man's going to pick and do what he wants to do with his situation. And yeah. Zay says he's here, win, lose, or draw. Shout out to Zay. So, did we cover everything? I feel like we've covered everything. Hell, we even had a little spat back and forth when it came to this, what is a real Florida State fan or not. But again, as far as all that stuff we're talking about with the opt-outs and all that stuff, like I said, man, that stuff's going to continue to happen. And I think people are making too much of it when it comes to Cam Ward, to be honest. But Miami's an easy target. Miami's an easy target because Bobby Bowden has more bowl victories. The late, great, rest in peace, Bobby Bowden has more bowl wins than Miami. Since, 2008 or something like that? 2007, whatever that is. So when that type of stuff happens, yeah, Miami, you're an easy target. I thought Miami was gonna. Not only did I thought Miami was gonna beat Iowa, I actually thought Miami. I didn't think Iowa State was that good, but again, the defense. The defense is that bad, right? The defense is that bad. Excuse me. Time ticking for Mario. You want to elaborate on that? What do you mean by that? Y'all ain't firing Mario, are you? No, there's no way. You think time's ticking for Mario? I will say this. I guess we'll talk a little bit about Miami since Zay's in here, and I will say this. After the type of season that Miami had, I'm surprised they finished recruiting where they're recruiting. If there's one thing that if I was a Miami fan that I'd be a little bit like scratching my head and maybe concerned about, how in Mario's first 2 years, I think he had the third ranked class and the seventh ranked. He had 2 top 10 classes for sure. We know that. You go 10-3 on the verge of the playoff. You can argue whether you should have been in the playoff or not. I don't think it's a legit argument because you didn't even make the title game. So I don't even think that's a legit argument. But Miami fans can argue whether they should have been in playoff or not. Miami finished 15th. What? Not fit. Not. People said Mike Norvell finishing 12th recruiting class last year was a disgrace. But the elite recruiter that is Mario Cristobal finished 15th. And I'm not even trying to troll. That's legit surprising to me. I thought after a 10-win season, Mario should be recruiting in the top 5. Miami should be on the. I don't know. What's your take on that, Zay? POLK was to start to talk on that topic. We will be here until the summer. Yeah, I'm not starting that topic of talking about Travis Hunter. And that's not even because I don't want to talk. That's not even because of the amount of stuff I have to talk about. It's because I'm a 36-year-old man with his own stuff. I have my own relationships, relationship. I have my own marriage and stuff to worry about. I'm not about to give a bunch of energy to a 20-year-old and probably a girl he won't be with in 5 years. I don't care enough about that. Like most young men, Travis Hunter will learn. And that's, again, I'll leave it at that. Who starts at corner? That's a great question. A lot of options, but I have no idea. I got to think Q and Edwin are in the mix. Word on the streets is players think Mario's a fraud. Is that true? Is that the word on the streets? as an FSU fan, I'm not worried about Miami. We need to be worried about what UF is doing. And the only reason I'm worried about UF, and UF closed extremely strong on the trail too. But unlike Florida State and Miami, to your point, Almighty, what makes UF concerning, they have a legit quarterback. I don't care what you think of Lagway. They got a guy. They've got a guy. Florida State can't say that, and Miami damn sure can't say that. And neither program has a guy. Even if you think TC is going to be good next year, you don't have anything after TC. Miami, I don't know if they got anything. I don't know. I don't know what they got at quarterback next year. They missed out on their portal talk and their portal target. And Emory Williams looks like Tate Rodemaker, reincarnated. So as far, I don't know, man. I don't know. So that's exactly why you have to be concerned about Florida. They actually got a quarterback. And they're building pieces and putting pieces. Wide receivers, they have a hell of a wide receiver room, at least on paper. Obviously, those guys still have to get on the field and prove it. But you're talking about 5-star galore over there at wide receiver room. They're putting the pieces around Lagway to be legit. And, UF is definitely the bigger worry. Definitely the bigger worry from a pure talent level. Yeah, I would be more worried about UF than I would be about Miami. There's a lot of talk about Bain. Maybe they should think about moving Bain inside. What do you think about that? Jones, Joseph, Lester occupy the quarterback. Lester or Bates, like that's kind of my thought, right? You got options, but obviously Lester, high profile, Bates, high profile. So those are kind of going to be the guys. Maybe a Zay can I think you're going to have open competition at corner for sure. I don't think Mario's a fraud, but I don't think he can put a coaching staff together. I have a question. Should Miami fire the defensive coordinator? I'm asking because I've heard that. I know a lot of people want. Is Guidry the defensive coordinator or is Guidry the offensive coordinator? I always hear the name Guidry, and I honestly don't know who's who. But I hear a lot of talk about firing. I think Guidry. I think he's the D coordinator. I think. Obviously, I'm not a Miami fan, so I can care less. But my question with that being is how much staff is Mario going to continue to fire before? Because Miami's already allowed him to fire one defensive coordinator and one offensive coordinator. Are we really in year 4 going to say that Miami's going to have a third defensive coordinator in 4 years? I think that's crazy. I'm just asking Adam, I know you're a Miami fan, and Zay and any other Miami. Is that realistic? Is it realistic for Miami to fire another defensive coordinator? I don't feel like that's a recipe for success. Personally. EMG says, don't do Jameis like that. He only lost to Oregon and won a Heisman and a chip. You better tell him, EMG. Don't ever compare Cam. And I'm a Cam Ward fan, but don't you compare him to 5. Don't ever compare him to 5. Zay says, lose to Middle Tennessee, strike 1. You didn't just lose to them either. You got pummeled. Taking that knee or not taking the knee, strike 2. Defense cost us everything. This year, I would agree with that, though, for sure. Your defense kept y'all from being a legit, like, if we just be honest for a second, if your defense was average, I think Miami's in the playoff. Just average. You don't even need an elite defense. If y'all's defense was just average, y'all probably were in the playoffs. TC is better than Lagway. Dude reminds me so much of Jordan Travis with his passing accuracy. TC might, and this is a huge might, be better than Lagway right now, at this instant, at 9:10 Central Texas time, 12/29/2004. Like, he might be, but no, Lagway has a ceiling. If TC's probably reached his ceiling. Lagway's ceiling is the Empire State Building, bro. Is a bean green? What kind of bean are we talking about? Guidry should be let go. Okay. Y'all want to fire? I'm just asking, like, do you need a third D coordinator in 4 years? I don't know if that's a recipe for success. I don't necessarily believe in Napier either, but like you said, Florida won games this year that we weren't expecting. That schedule said that they were the 2-win team, not, damn it, us. And Billy's actually punched above his weight class. Look how they finished on the recruiting trail. And again, they have the future already on the roster at quarterback. I don't believe in Billy either as far as coaching goes. But damn it, look at everything else he's doing. I went to the bowl game yesterday. I heard a lot from fans from Miami saying that players thinks he's a fraud. Man, he tripping. 5 lost 2 games in 2 years. Bye-bye. Jameis only lost 1 game, man. Jameis don't put that on Jameis. Come on now. When we talk about Jameis, J-Boo Winston, y'all got to get the facts straight. Jameis ain't lose no 2 games. He lost 1. And that was the Oregon. And I blame a young Dalvin Cook. The guy that carried us after that, Dalvin Cook, started the L's, started that Oregon loss. What's up, Grand Champion? No, I hear you. Like, he didn't perform well, so you got to get rid of. I mean, I get what you're saying. I just, again, y'all, unless you're new here, you know, I'm just very big on the whole consistency and the same message. And I don't know if you, again, you want your defense to improve, but if your defensive players are always every year or 2, I mean, at this rate, it's almost every year, they're always learning new terminology. I think that's an issue. I also think if you look at what they have, the defense the prior 2 years, those were all of Manny's guys, obviously defensive coach. And now that the James Williamsons and the Cam Kitchens and these guys are gone, the Tyreek Stevens, you're kind of now seeing what Mario's been able to bring in on that defense, and it's not looking – so maybe it's not the players, right? And maybe it's a whole coaching thing. But all I'm saying is you're going to get rid of him, and now the defensive players have to learn more new terminology, probably a different scheme. I don't know, again, if that's a recipe for success. I hope he does. I honestly hope he does. How come we didn't score more points? Because our offense was historically bad. That's why. It was god-awful. We couldn't get 5 yards. That's why. I think if Guidry isn't fired, you'll see a lot of Miami guys in the portal. Ooh. If that's the case, then I think then you have to fire him, right? If you're talking about guys wanting to leave the team because they don't want to play for a coach, then you got to fire him. I think TC is definitely a good fit for the offense. Well, that's a little bit different of a situation. Anthony Richardson was always a superior athlete, never learned the position. I understand why he went pro because you see where he got drafted. But he played 1 year. Whereas Lagway is going to play at least 3 years. So it's just different. Right? It's just different. Bro, Jameis never lost a regular season game, and he only lost 1 bowl game. Again, you got to get the facts straight when we're talking about Jameis Winston, my man. He only played in 2 bowl games in his career. One was a national championship where he led the game-winning drive, and one was the Oregon playoff game. And he never lost a regular season game. So again, it's okay, hardhead. You're wrong. It's okay. That's what I'm here for, to educate. Well, Dalvin fumbled. Dalvin had some fumble problems that kind of blew that game open, is why I say that, Almighty. Okay, so I'll ask, and we're almost done here, but Zay brought it up, so I would love to talk about it real quick. What was that about? What are the Miami spaces and the Miami platforms and the Miami, YouTube channel saying that fight was about? Is that just a heat of the moment thing between players? Because anytime I see fights on the sideline or hear about fights at practice, to me, it's never a big deal because if you've been in those locker rooms, if you've played at any particular level, man, teammates are going to fight. And sometimes it ain't even football related. Now, to fight during a game on live TV is interesting. But, players get heated. I'm curious if you know, Zay, or have heard, what exactly was the little tussle on the sideline about by chance? Like when he's developed, go look at the LSU Ole Miss tape though. He made those in those 2 games Richardson only dreams of making. That's my point. I mean, again, Lagway's not a finished product. It's not a finished product, but you can't deny some of the plays that he's made. That's kind of my point. They have a quarterback. Again, we got to stop thinking that guys are going to be finished products the first time. I'm not saying that you're thinking this, Sports Centric. I'm just saying we have this tendency in 2024 to think that everybody needs to be a finished product right now. Just because Lagway's had bad moments, he's going to have bad moments because he's a freshman. But what are those good moments just good moments, or are they like borderline special? Like, oh my God, they like look at that. Like once he starts doing that consistently, you have like an NFL prospect. I'm not saying he's an NFL prospect right now, but the whole point is, do you see flashes of greatness? And I believe when I've watched Lagway, I've seen flashes of greatness. Can he put it all together? Well, it remains to be seen. For FSU's sake, I hope he doesn't. But for his sake, I hope he does. And I hope I hope he figures it out. Frustration because they can't stop. So it was just a matter of defense playing bad and somebody has to blame somebody. See, stuff like that doesn't bother me. That stuff happens. Way too early top 5 ACC contenders next year. FSU, Miami, Clemson, SMU, Louisville. Not in order. Syracuse and Georgia Tech right there also. I mean, let's be honest, Anthony. The ACC is going to be wide open. So that's essentially what you're saying is FSU is wide open, right? Syracuse, they're going to have to replace a pretty damn good quarterback. So that's going to be interesting to see what they do. Georgia Tech, kind of the same thing. They're replacing King, right? I think King's gone. I think, but in today's college football, he might have another year. So we'll see what happens with Georgia Tech. They've recruited fairly well at Georgia Tech, so I'm interested to see what they do. They also lost some critical players to the transfer portal, though, which might stunt or take them back a notch. Clemson's always going to be there. SMU's going to have their quarterback back. SMU will be interesting. Miami have the talent, and Florida State should have the talent. It's a lot of questions for us. Like, just based off where I hold the program, I want to say, of course, we are a contender, but I got to see just how everything comes together on this team. Talent-wise, sure, we should be up there. I'll leave you with this. We had a cupcake schedule and folded up against, and we opened and folded. We opened up against Notre Dame next year. Got Florida too. Buckle up, Cristobal. Zay does not sound very happy with the man Mario Cristobal. But I agree, y'all did have a cupcake schedule, and the decent teams y'all ended up playing, you kind of lost to. So, is FSU not leaving the ACC? Well, we'll see what happens with that. As far as I know, there's a lawsuit still ongoing, so we'll see how that plays out. We will see how that plays out. But y'all, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, share the video. That's all I got tonight. Again, as we talked about the new potential guys that FSU's targeting the portal, you lose D.D. Holmes, but you bring in your center, your offensive tackle, you're targeting a couple more D linemen, 2 linebackers, a running back. I even think of receivers possibly in the works. So they're definitely still bringing in portal acquisitions and definitely still trying to see if they can bolster the overall talent level of this team, because Mike understands what he has to do next year, regardless of whether we think 7 wins or whatever the case is. I know Mike Norvell didn't hire Gus Malzahn and go out and get Tony White, and he didn't make these moves again to win 7 games. He understands what he has to accomplish, and it's not just about being fired, but again, ultimately you're a dead man walking if you don't do these things, because we talk about recruiting right now and how good is Mike Norvell as a recruiter and X, Y, and Z. You win 7 games next year, you're still recruiting bottom of the barrel. Like, the point is, it's just stagnant water at that point, is why you need that 9 and 10 wins, get some momentum. Can you finally recruit? All those things. Can you show that last year was just a flash in the pan and you're going to be more along the previous 2 years at 10, at a minimum, right? 10 wins or 13 wins. Like, just I'm not saying you got to make the playoffs every year, but damn it, can you at least contend, be in the conversation for the playoffs every year? So that's kind of what we kind of talked about tonight. And yeah, we talked about spent a lot of time on Miami. And that's because Zay and Adam, y'all brought some good conversation from a Miami perspective. I didn't even troll you like I wanted to. Well, I really didn't want to. You guys came in here, and Zay is not happy with Cristobal. That's probably why, really why I didn't troll you, because Zay is not happy with Mario Cristobal. So, see, Zay is going. Zay, it's okay. You can come here and you can let it all out. That's what I'm here for, my man. Because I understand if you go to those Miami YouTube channels, they're gonna call you a hater. They're going to say you're not a real Kane fan, I guess, like I got accused of tonight, but I apologize again for that. They're going to say you're not a real fan. They're going to say all those things, but I'm going to come over here and I'm going to let you vent. I'm going to let you vent. The best quarterback in the history of your program, and you're absolutely right, bro. You got nothing to show for it. The whole best quarterback in NCAA history is a little bit far-fetched. Again, I don't think the record's legitimate, in my opinion, when half of your touchdowns are at Incarnate Ward, but it is what it is. I think that's a little bit of best QB in NCAA history. It's kind of wild. Like, Cam Newton doesn't exist. Like, that's crazy. Jameis Winston also exists as well. Just those two. Tim Tebow exists. Cam Ward, I'm a fan. Not the best quarterback in the history of college football. Anyway, continue to vent, Zay, because again, I support it all the way. I want to give you this opportunity and this platform, but I got to do it because I got to do it, Zay. I got to do it. I had to do it, Zay. I'm sorry. He's a loser. He's a loser. With all that being said, y'all, again, hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you're new. Share the video. Continue to share the video. Hopefully, we have again last live stream of 2024. Hopefully, 2025 is obviously a better year for the Florida State fan, and just a better year for all of you in your personal lives in general. I mean, I don't know how your 2024 was. If it was great, let's ask for even greater things. If it wasn't so great, then it's always a new year to revamp and refigure things out. You feel me? So, as always, man, it's your boy POLK over here on 863 Seminole TV. Y'all want y'all to stay classy. And we are out here. Go Noles. Happy New Year. And I'll see y'all in 2025. We out here. Go Noles.